Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the RDH Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chad. Joined alongside me is my brother, Tanner. How's it hanging, dude?
You know what? I got the shirt on. We got them. If you can't see, I got the shirt on. Texas Rangers up 3-1 in the World Series. Never won it before. And they play again tonight, probably in about an hour. So we'll see what happens. But I'm ready to get into some football. What about you, Chad? How are you feeling? I feel like we never ask. I feel like I'm, getting all the spotlight at the beginning. How are you doing?
Yeah, that's what happens, when you're the host. You kind of just throw it, and let's see how you're going. But yeah, everything's good over here. You know what I mean? I'm still in the boot, so ready to get that thing off. But just hitting real quick on the Rangers, like you said, we're about an hour away from the game. So we may be ripping through this episode a little bit. If we seem like we're going a little bit faster, that's why we're recording right before the Rangers game. You know me, if you listen to the podcast, I'm an Angels fan. We're not going to get there anytime soon, so I've jumped on the Rangers bandwagon for this postseason. And
Yeah.
like Tanner said, we're getting into it right off the bat. College football. They've officially released a top 15. We're gonna look into it right now. So just going to start off by going I'm going to say the top four. First of all, Georgia is not number one. If you listen to the last episode, we both agreed that Georgia should be number one. They're not now. Ohio State's number one. Georgia's number two. Michigan is number three. Florida State is number four. And Washington is number five. All the undefeated teams, that makes total sense to me. The order is interesting. I think Michigan is better than Ohio State personally. I think when Michigan plays Ohio State, they're going to win. That's just me. But what do you think about those top five?
I mean, when you look at Georgia, they just lost probably their biggest pass catcher, receiver, blocker, whatever you want to say it on offense. And they're in their tight end, so I'm pretty sure he's going to be expected to be out many weeks. I don't think it's out for the season per se, but
It's not.
depending on
It's
how
like 4 to
long.
6.
Okay, yeah, depending on how long. Obviously, they're going to make the playoffs, but you definitely going to see him back out there. But I understand why they dropped him because of that. Because obviously there's a lack of offensive production because you're just in a system you're not used to without that guy in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then Ohio State's rolling, even though they've had some real close ones at number one. I don't know. To me, that one I don't necessarily agree with. I don't necessarily agree with Ohio State being number one. If it was going to be, Ohio State or Michigan, like I said, I would put Michigan over them. I think Michigan's been more impressive this year. I think Ohio State's had a lot of really close games that they almost lost. A lot of one possession win games. So that's my only kind of about this top five. But Washington sitting there undefeated. You know what I mean? They still got the championship to wait for in the Pac-12. But hey, we'll see what happens. Right behind them, that's why I said that, Oregon is the first one-loss team. Texas is the second one-loss team right there at 7. Remember this. We got Alabama at 8. We now have Oklahoma at 9. Oklahoma beat Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and Texas is 2 spots above them. That just shows everybody that if, and the crazy thing is Texas doesn't have Quinn Ewers going forward because of the injury. I don't know how long he's out. I'm, not really following into the Texas football these days. That was the old uh, other podcast guy was Brad when we used to do Chad and Brad Sports. He was the Texas guy. But Texas being there at number 7, I'm okay with that. Alabama right there, Oregon sitting there at number 6. They're going to play Washington at the end of the season anyway. A lot of these are going to change.
Yeah, I think exactly your point. There's a lot of matchups still to come. So we're going to see some moving around, especially, like you said, that Ohio State-Michigan game. You're going to see some big moving around there. I don't know. Obviously, like you said, Michigan looks really good. I think they probably can and probably will win that game against Ohio State, but you never know. It's college football. Anything can happen. So
Especially with those two.
especially with those two, especially with the rivalry that is just there, the fans, the stadiums, like everything has a major part to do about it. So it's going to be really interesting, and there's a lot of good matchups still to come. So this is absolutely not the final, rankings for even a little bit. Everyone's going to mix and match, but it's exciting to see it start to come together a little bit. It's exciting.
Exactly. And then you have Alabama sitting there at number 8, Oklahoma, like I said, there at number 9, Ole Miss there at number 10. At number 11, you have Penn State. And then at number 12, you have Missouri. That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Missouri is, I had no idea Missouri was doing that well this year, but they are. I need to tune into more Missouri games, but you have a ton of SEC teams. And like I said, same theme, a ton of teams are going to play each other again this season. So this rankings is going to change big time. Um, Louisville sitting there at number 13. That's surprising to me that they've held on this long, but we still got a season to go. It feels like we still got a season to go, it seems like. And then starting out the first two loss team, you have LSU there at 14, Notre Dame at 15. We'll stop there, but an honorable mention. Number 16, the Oregon State Beavers. You got to always throw them in there. They're number 16. What do you think about those last ones?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is Notre Dame. You just look at it; they had a lot of high expectations coming into the season, and it kind of didn't really work out for them. Their defense is pretty good, but their offense just can't score that many points. So they've been in some big games, but they haven't really won a lot of them. So that's kind of just the story for this team this season. I'd like to see them turn it around with a good end of the season, though, just to give them some confidence going into next year.
You would like to see it. And in college football, everything helps with recruiting.
Yep.
So anytime you finish a bowl game or win at the end of the season, it's good because that's what those recruits are looking at, is that record and who they're going to be playing within the system, right? Mm-hmm. So last college football topic of this week. Each week leading up to the draft, I'm going to release a prospect spotlight. This week, since Ohio State's number one, I thought it was okay. We're not going to talk about the number one wide receiver at Ohio State. We're going to talk about the number two wide receiver at Ohio State with Emeka Ibuka. Like I said, wide receiver, he's a junior. He's not necessarily locked to go to the draft. I would assume he would be, because where I would rank him, for me personally, would be a mid first round pick. He's 6'1", he's 206. I'm gonna just go right into my draft profile on him. Anytime Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't get the ball, he was right there to make a play. Really reminds me of former wide receiver from Ohio State, Chris Olave, but he's a bit bigger than Chris Olave. He plays a little bit bigger than Chris Olave. And it's crazy to me to think about the wide receivers that have come out of Ohio State these last couple of years with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. And now you have one that is with Marvin Harrison Jr. that I'm not even going to get into, because I would talk for an hour and a half about this prospect. Not to mention who his dad is, how he's going to be potentially better than his dad. I'm going to stop right now. And then, you've just got so many good players, and I can't wait to go into this. But this year is not a different story. This kid is right there. This kid is not on Marvin Harrison Jr. level. Nobody in college football is. He's the best player in college football. It's just that simple. And when you have a wide receiver that's that good, there's going to be a lack of production, which is what he's had this season. He's not had as many receiving yards as he had last year. There's still more games to go in the season, obviously, but he's not at that great of a pace this year. But I still would draft this kid in the first round. I want to see combine tape right now. When I say projection, this is where I'm projecting him. This could change a lot. And once again, if you like the college football stuff, rdhsports.net, that's where I put all of the articles, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, RDH Sports. We do updates there all the time. So last thing, crisp route running ability, which is why the player comparison is Chris Olave. And he has an extremely high upside to become a wide receiver one in the NFL within 2 years. I don't think wide receivers typically step in to the professional level and automatically are the wide receiver number one unless they're going to a slam dunk quarterback. Does that ever happen? No, because the slam dunk quarterbacks usually are not picking in the top, 10, right? Usually they're made the playoffs, and you're not going to follow that guy. Sometimes you do, like a CeeDee Lamb. But even when CeeDee came out of college, he didn't necessarily get number one wide receiver the first season, right? It took everybody a little bit. Now, when you're Justin Jefferson, do whatever you want. When you're Jamar Chase, do whatever you want. Whatever the heck you want to do, just go do that. I don't think he's on their level, but really solid player here. Have you seen this kid? I mean, it's hard to see him when Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the field, but Have you seen him?
I mean, just Marvin Harrison Jr. just being on the field, just being him, gets this guy more targets, gets this guy more attention, because obviously you're going to double team Harrison, right? It's just what you have to do if you're a defense. So this kid is, I'm not saying it's a, production because of the team he's on, because of the man who's sitting on the other side of the field, but he's individually very, very good. All the points you said are great. I mean, he plays for Ohio freaking State. You cannot go there and you cannot be the number two behind Marvin Harrison Jr. if you're not a good wide receiver. That dude is phenomenal. But this guy is very good as well.
Exactly. And he had in 2022 was the season I want to highlight. He had 74 receptions with 1100 yards. He had 10 touchdowns that season. So, average touchdown per game, that's not too bad. And once again, this kid shows up in big games. And he is also a returner, if I'm not mistaken. Because it says here, I'm using ESPN on the stats. He's got 2 returning touchdowns. When I've watched the tape, I typically only watch the wide receiver tape. Special teams is kind of an added bonus to me. But here's the thing. Last thing I'll say about this kid, he's going to get overshadowed. He's going to, which means he's going to fall a little bit. So I could see him being here easily in the middle of the first round, and I could even see his draft range right now. Once again, it's very early. It's November 1 right now. This is going to change a lot. But from right now, what I'm seeing with the limited prospects that I've seen, I've got this kid in mid to later early rounds, and could fall as far as early second round right now. So that's all we got on this week's NCAA prospect player spotlight.
Oh,
Now we're gonna jump to the
hi.
NFL.
Oh, that's all I got to say.
Oh, you got more on?
No, I said Ohio.
Oh, okay, I got you. I was like, did you what? Really? Like, I'm supposed to be the draft guy. What are you talking
No,
about?
you got a shot.
There you go. There you go. OHIO. Yeah, I see what you're doing there. So a little bit of week 8 recap action. We're starting trade deadline. Tanner and I don't have Halloween costumes on because we wanted to wait till the day after. We wanted to wait till the day after because, I mean, we're a breaking sports platform, RDH Sports. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like, I mean, come on. Come on. So I think the biggest one, we got to just go right into it. The San Francisco 49ers
Dude,
somehow
that is dumb.
get Chase Young for a 3rd round draft pick.
That is dumb.
And not to mention Chase Young and Joey Bosa also OHIO. So
Yep.
what do you think? And sorry, not Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa.
Mhm.
What do you think about that move in the fact that it is only for a 3rd round draft pick?
I don't know how teams keep doing this. Like, obviously I'm a Cowboys fan, so like trades just don't go our way, like, ever, unless you're, I guess, Amari Cooper. But for a 3rd round pick, Washington, really? I'm just in awe. Is kind of what I'm thinking. Like, it's like I remember back to DeAndre
He's number
Swift.
2. He's number 2 in quarterback pressures behind like Micah Parsons.
It doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand how they were able to cut a deal like that. Why at that point, why would Washington just not keep him? Try and get something better. I don't. It's just kind of
He's the best player in defense.
It's not even close. Like, he's a freak. And for him to go for a 3rd round pick is just absolutely dumbfounding to me. Like I said, I'm thinking of DeAndre Swift to the Eagles. Funny enough, AJ Brown to the Eagles too. Except at that point, those guys had not a lack of production, but just not as big of a star, on their head as I would say Chase Young had at this point in his career. But like, man, that Niners defense, it just gets better. It doesn't fall off. They just reload. You know what I mean?
I don't understand it. It's like they're not losing on the defensive side of the ball. They didn't need him, but they're like, yeah, I'll take him. We'll worry about the contract after the Super Bowl. It's
For
like
a 3rd, yeah.
And that's how teams go out and win the trade deadline. That is an absolute 100% slam dunk trade deadline pick.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, you get him for a 3rd round pick. You keep him until the end of his rookie contract. He's leading the league in top 5 in quarterback pressures. He's a former top overall pick, which means he checks every single physical box that you can possibly have. And oh, by the way, they have Hargrove sitting there from the Eagles. They also have Nick Bosa on the other side, who's going to be coming with speed and is double teamed every time. So that means that Chase Young is now no longer double teamed like he was on Washington, because the only time they didn't double team him is when Daron Payne was running up the middle like a bull in a china shop. That was the only time that he was not double teamed on Washington. Yes, the production hasn't been there, but for a team like San Francisco to go out and get him for a 3rd round pick is insane. It's absolutely insane. And I think we've said everything we need to say about that pick. And like you just mentioned, the other team that did it, not necessarily right now, but another team in the division that's been very good at trade deadline pickups in free agency in the offseason in general, is the Philadelphia Eagles. Mm-hmm. And the Philadelphia Eagles traded or Titans traded Terrell Edmonds, a 5th and 6th round pick, and Philadelphia Eagles got Kevin Byard. So, oh wait, that's not right. That's not right at all. Terrell Edmonds, a 5th and a 6th, and then a 7th. Okay, that is completely wrong. I'm gonna go redo that. But long story short, the Eagles got Kevin Byard
Yeah, they got Kevin Byard
for nothing, quite literally nothing. And for a team to go out and do that, they're addressing a position of need. CJ Garner Johnson was the safety that they lost this offseason, and he comes in, and this is a better safety. This is a top 10 safety in the league. So you got the picks there that I botched it on.
I'm going for him right now. I mean, it's just it's exactly what you said. They lost one of the best safeties in the NFL, and they got another one. You know, it's like what? Obviously, it's going to take some time for him to get up and going. But like, I don't know, man. Like that's really impressive. I'm trying to find the details right now, but it was very nice. It was a very nice trade.
Yeah, and while you're finding the details, just another quick one we want to say. The Cardinals, they traded away Joshua Dobbs, and that tells me from our pop, he said Kyler's going to be starting. I do think that it's trending in that direction. So Kyler may be back in Arizona, back as a starter in Arizona, but Joshua Dobbs didn't necessarily play bad. But they traded Joshua Dobbs in the 7th to the Vikings for a 6th. So not bad. Not bad, not necessarily good, but I think that is the perfect 1-year quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings because Kirk Cousins was playing at a very high level this year, and clearly him and Justin Jefferson have a great rapport. So he's going to be back next season. So who else better to go get than a 1-year quarterback?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Arizona, I think their starter's name right now for this week against Cleveland, who they play, is like Tune. That's his last name. I don't know who he is, but they're just kind of holding out until Kyler's back. I'm pretty sure he's practicing, and I'm pretty sure he's on pace to play maybe this week, probably next week though. So look out for Kyler being back. I don't know exactly what he's going to do, but Arizona, you got to play him. It's Kyler Murray. He's won you a lot of games in the past, and when he plays well, he's probably one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. But I do have the trade details. So it is the Eagles are trading Terrell Edmonds plus a 2024 5th and 6th round pick to Tennessee in return for Kevin Byard. So they got a 5th,
Oh, so I nailed it.
a 6th, and Terrell Edmonds. I think you did. I think there might have been one or two. That was pretty close. It's like 90. That's a passing grade.
I'll take it. I gave myself a solid 40, but I appreciate you doubling it and putting 10 on it. Jump into the next one. We have to talk about this. What is Washington doing?
What do you mean?
Montez Sweat is gone to the Bears for a 2nd round pick. So they got a 2nd and a 3rd round pick, and you're telling me that Montez Sweat and Chase Young are not better than a 2nd or 3rd round pick? What? That was the best part of their team, was their defensive line. Now Jerron Payne's sitting there like, what the hell am I doing?
He doesn't even want to be there too. That's the crazy thing. Like he was the one that like actually doesn't want to be there.
I know they traded everybody around him. It's crazy to me. So what do you think about that? I mean, obviously, as a Dallas fan, wasn't really worried about Washington, but now really not worried about Washington. And if you have Tony Pollard, start him that week, he's probably going to get a 40 burger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think, teams know that Washington wants to get rid of their players. Teams know that they want to get picks and they want to get draft capital. So they're not being, I think, as aggressive as you probably would normally see. Like a couple weeks before the trade deadline, months before, where you see like firsts flying around and stuff like that in the offseason too, But it's just kind of one of those situations where I think the cat is out of the bag, almost to say. So there's not really a lot of leverage on the term from the perspective of Washington. So they're kind of throwing these guys out there like, give me picks. Washington is probably the one who is calling, calling these teams like, hey, you want Montez Sweat, hey, you want Chase Young, stuff like that. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll give you a third. I'll give you a third for him. And they're like, okay. That's probably their best offer that they got in the time that they had. So that's what I'm thinking happened. At least I can't really see another situation where, you know, Chase Young goes for a 3rd-round pick, Sweat goes for you said a 2nd, right? That's just dumb. So it's just no first,
It's
no
got to
first.
be it's got to be ownership. It has to be ownership. They just recently got new ownership. There's no way that this coaching staff would let those players go.
Yeah,
There's no way.
I
And
think
with Riverboat Ron Rivera there, no
that's true.
shot.
That's true.
No shot.
I think you can compare it to the McCaffrey trade from last season, where it was just an absolute haul of picks. You know, it wasn't like the flashy picks. Like there was, I think, maybe a 2nd in there, and it was just a bunch of like mid-round to late-round picks. And it was an absolute haul. Like that's a haul. You see that happen. Probably not very often when it comes to like trades, but Christian McCaffrey, he was the best running back in football. You know, and he had a good season. So it's like, what are you going to do? All the leverage at that point is from Carolina. You know, it's just, hey, we want to trade this guy. He's the best in the league, and everyone's competing. I think from the perspective of Washington, obviously Chase Young and Sweat, they're those guys. They're not pushovers, but Washington wants to get rid of them, and nobody kind of wanted to take him, I guess, which sucks because they're really good. But it's kind of a tale of two like halves, you know. But it's strange to me that you would think that Christian McCaffrey would go for a ton and Chase Young wouldn't also go for a ton, but he didn't. So I don't know. Maybe Washington just suck at making deals. I'm not sure.
They're loading up. You know what I mean? They're loading up for the draft. They're like trying to be Oklahoma City Thunder right now, who have like a ridiculous amount of draft picks in the next crazy amount of years. But
And they're good too.
injury, they're not bad. Not bad. Injury report time. We just said it. My fantasy quarterback tore his Achilles. And Kirk Cousins, quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. I got to ask. I'm going to be the one to ask the question. Them being an NFC team, them being a team that I had them picked to win their division at the beginning of the season. Justin Jefferson's on the IR for at least a couple more weeks. Is this team done, or does Dobbs actually give them a chance to? I don't even want to say win the division. I would say maybe a wild card spot at this point. What do you think? And that's I think that's kind of being nice.
It is being very nice, especially because I think Dallas or Philly is going to take up one of them, and it's probably going to be the 5. So you're going to leave the last 2 to, whoever's just fighting for the crumbs. But I don't think Josh Dobbs gives you the best chance to win. You know, you saw him in Arizona. I don't know if you could say that, the Vikings are a better offensive unit than the Arizona Cardinals are. You know, like there's
TJ Hawkinson. You'd have to compare him to Zach Ertz.
That's true.
And then when Justin Jefferson comes back, obviously it reigns supreme. But
yeah, of
right
course.
now with him out, like
right now.
like I said, and like you're saying, God, TJ Hawkinson's questionable this week too.
I know.
So
their number one is
he's
Jordan
out,
Addison. Like, no offense, Jordan. He's a good wide receiver, but he's a rookie. He's a rookie.
I think they have way more upside than the Arizona Cardinals do, but I do see the point you're making. Yes, that team is not that great offensively, and I mean, Kirk Cousins was doing pretty decent with that team.
Here's the thing, though. Go
ahead.
They're 4-4. They're 500, and all they got to do is just survive until Justin gets back, and then it's fine because TJ will probably be healthy. They'll have Justin Jefferson. It's kind of like the Brock Purdy in San Fran situation. It doesn't really matter who's back there as long as you get that person open and you can get the ball to them. Good things are going to happen. So I think the offense will be manageable. I don't think it's going to be amazing because Kirk Cousins isn't back there throwing dimes like he does, but the defense can hold its own. They got Danielle Hunter, who's having a fantastic year, and when Justin Jefferson gets back, if you can just win a couple games, I don't know how long he's going to be out for. It's survival at this point, guys. It's survival. Just win as much as you can, steal 1 or 2 games, and see if you can make that wild card spot.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. We're gonna add a new little segment. This is called the NFL Surprise of the Week. We got 2 surprises.
I didn't even know
the Denver Broncos kicked the crap out of the Chiefs. I mean, Mahomes didn't score a touchdown.
He didn't look good at all.
He didn't look good at all. He didn't score a touchdown. That game was just horrendous by the Chiefs. What the hell happened?
sometimes you lay a goose egg, man. I don't really know what
Exactly.
happened.
Dallas
Mahomes,
does it like 3 times a year.
I think the biggest thing is I was watching this game and it was kind of annoying me. And I think I just go on these little rants when teams just don't decide to run the ball. And it really kind of irks me because it's like, it's a very fundamental part of football. And for some reason, these NFL teams just don't want to do it. I get it. You have Patrick Mahomes. I get it. You have Travis Kelce. I get it. You're a passing offense. But when your offense is putting up, I think they had 9 points the entire game. If your
They did.
offense is just sitting on the back of your kicker, no offense, run the ball. Come out in the second half, run the ball. That's what I thought they were going to do, but they didn't. They just kept doing the same exact thing, and the Broncos were like, okay, this is easy. So they just kept doing it. I think Pacheco is a fantastic running back. I think he brings a lot of electricity, a lot of momentum to the game when he can literally go in there and take over a game, especially against the Denver Broncos defense that has been giving up, I think at the time, the most rush yards, if not the second most. They're easily top 2 or 3 at that point in time in the NFL in terms of rushing yards. So why would you not go into that? Why would you not go into that game? Game planning to run the ball, to pound the rock. Like, just come on. It's Andy Reid. I just don't see where he went wrong. You know what I mean? I trust Andy Reid to do that in those situations, and he didn't. So it was really surprising to me that they didn't kind of pull that game out. But what did you see? I'm curious.
I saw a game plan that didn't work, and they didn't go away from it
Mm-hmm.
because, completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. But the game plan is clearly always to put the ball in Mahomes' hand. That gives not 99%, 100% of every single NFL team would do that. Every NFL
Yeah,
team would
of
do that
course.
because he gives you the best chance to win. Now, if he's not necessarily having the best day and he's struggling a little bit, which he clearly was, he had 2 picks at a QB rating of maybe 60. He always comes out at halftime and steps it up. He didn't. If you come out there and you see a drive, it's also those things where Patrick Mahomes audibles all the time. I saw a ton of audibles that game, and a lot of those formations did look like they were rushes. But I'm not going to be the couch warrior to criticize Mahomes or the Chiefs in general because that team has won the Super Bowl in recent
Yeah,
years,
of course.
and my team hasn't. We're not criticizing by any stretch of the means, but it's not that hard. Like Tanner said, run the damn ball.
even
Just
even
run the ball.
even if it's not like running the ball, in today's NFL, you can get away with a short passing game, right? Just dink and dunks to the flat. I can't tell you how many times I saw Pacheco open in the flat during that game. And Mahomes, he's just extending the play, and he gets sacked. And tackle, or it's a sack. It's a loss on a down that you don't want happen. The clock's running. You're running out of time. Run the ball. Dink it out to the flat. Short
Run the
passing
ball.
routes, screens,
Very
stuff like
simple.
that. Change things up. Just switch it up. Don't just go yard to Travis Kelce. Don't go yard to Kadarius Toney every single time. Don't try and throw 20, 30 yards down the field. We saw that a couple years ago with this Chiefs offense, and they were struggling because of it. They weren't winning games because of it, and now it's happening again. And what happened? They started running the ball. They started taking the dink and dunk routes. They started getting more involved as an offensive unit, not just Patrick Mahomes. So I think they should get back to that. I think they will. Next week, I think you're going to see them run the ball a lot more. I don't even know who they play. Oh, they play Miami. Perfect. I think you're going to see them run the ball a lot more. And I'll give my pick when we get there, but I think it's going to be good.
We'll get into that in the next segment, but absolutely, I couldn't have said it better myself. Next surprise of the week, last one we got the Bengals 31, the 49ers 17. Leg looks great with Joe Burrow. Had a couple scrambles when he played against 49ers. If I was a betting man, I would not have taken Joe Burrow on greater than 2-1 scramble. You know what I mean? The fact
Right.
that he got a couple scrambles there, it's like, okay, wouldn't have done that myself, but all
Yeah,
right.
baby.
Exactly. And I gotta ask this question. This is 3 games in a row.
I know.
Should 49ers fans be worried about Brock Purdy?
No. And here's my reason why. Because I think Brock Purdy is finally showing the signs, that he's a young quarterback, that he can make mistakes. He's not invincible. But they've been dealing with some injuries, especially at the biggest position being Trent Williams, their tackle position, which is one of the most important positions in the NFL. And if You didn't think it before, you should think it now because you're starting to see it. He's been out the last 3 games, and they've lost the past 3 games. And a fun little stat
And
for you.
I was going to say, to interject real quick to further prove your point, that's why tackles go much higher
Yes.
in the draft than guards do. We know a lot of our listeners are not necessarily huge football fans, huge draft fans, but like a bunch of different sports. That's why we're RDH Sports. But just wanted to throw that in there. That's why tackles are so much more valuable than guards are.
No, it's a really good point because if you don't have a good tackle, you're going to have rushers coming off the edge and coming.
That's your blind side. That's
Exactly.
the quarterback's blind side.
Exactly. If you're a right-handed quarterback, the left tackle is the worst. It's technically the most important position that you want to look for, right? You want to have someone sound there because you can't see a rusher coming from there. How many sacks in the NFL have you seen where they just hit the quarterback from behind, from the back, and the ball pops right out? It's a turnover almost immediately because you can't brace for that. You can't predict that unless you have Tom Brady and he has a sixth sense and he just like pushes up in the pocket right when it happens. But Brock Purdy's young. He makes mistakes and stuff like that. Like I said, this stat, 6 turnovers over the past 3 games. That's not good in one quarterback. He's turning the ball over. He's not looking great. He's played decent teams, but he should go out there and win some of those games, especially against Cleveland. I'll say that. They should have won that game, but they should have won it by more. Or they should have, actually won it and won it by more. Bengals defense stepped up, but I will say that, they're kind of an on and off defense. I think Purdy can get that, especially with the stars you have on the field. It's kind of, you're seeing the Trent Williams effect. That's kind of my biggest point here.
And that's why I was harping on signing Zach Martin so much. I know he's a guard. He's played tackle before, but I know he's a guard. And you have to bring back the best player on your offensive line. And when you lose the best player on your offensive line with Trent Williams, the left tackle there at San Francisco, once again, that's Brock Purdy's blind side. And Brock Purdy hasn't necessarily developed the timing yet because he's still such a young quarterback in the NFL. Hasn't even had really a full season under his belt yet. So he's still working on that timing. He's still so young, right? So that's another reason why you need to have that solid left tackle. And if Trent Williams is in there, then they have a way better chance to win. And also Deebo Samuel being there, you can't key on George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. NFL teams have proven that they can stop one guy. Good defenses can stop one guy for sure. They can completely eliminate one guy. We're talking elite defenses in the NFL. They can almost eliminate one guy. But 2 is a little bit more challenging. It's harder than that. 3. And that's what happens when you bring in Deebo Samuel. So talking about a quarterback who has not been struggling recently, to our next point, we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles matchup preview this week. This is the biggest game of the season for both of these teams. It's for the division. And it's going to be crazy.
You know what this is. 4 touchdowns, baby. 4 touchdowns.
Oh, all I got to say, I have an image here from Dak Prescott's previous 3 games against the Eagles, and I thought this was kind of crazy. DC Weedham Boys with a Z on Instagram, so I found this.
It's a good account.
Dak versus the Eagles. It's a solid account. Dak versus the Eagles. 78% completion percentage.
Pretty good.
Okay.
Higher than league
69
average.
of 88. What?
I said higher than league average. Much higher.
Oh, I thought you said that's league average. I was like, you are not saying that. You're not actually saying that. 880 yards, and then you have 11 touchdowns and 1 interception.
That's disgusting. Over the past 3.
That's disgusting.
This Eagles defense over the past 3 has been insane too.
That is such a good stat there. So I just wanted to bring those stats up. What do you think about this game? What do you think is going to happen with this game? Because I do have the Cowboys and the Eagles splitting, but what do you think happens?
I think I'm going to extend your point. We both came with the Dak Prescott versus the Eagles stats today. The passer rating of 98.9 over his whole career, which is almost 100, which is very good. 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in 11 games played. So that's his entire career. There's some good ones in there. There's some bad ones in there. But he's, 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. He has 2,700 yards passing in 11 games. So I'm not going to say I'm not worried because it's the Philadelphia Eagles and they're a really good team. But Dak Prescott, he likes to go out there and he likes to play well versus the Eagles. It's just, if you've been here long enough, you just know it. And I think he's going to continue to do the same thing going into this week. I think we'll make matchup picks when we get there. But I think Dak Prescott is going to have a good game. I think he's not. If they do lose the Cowboys, I'm not going to say he's the reason why. The defense. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Philly's defense. They just can't handle the Dak.
And watch, he's just gonna get shut out this week.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be like 40-0.
Yeah, just absolutely shut out this week. But no, I mean, you said it, Dak Prescott. I came with the last 3 games. You came with the whole career. Well played. That's why we do this podcast together. He plays very well against the Eagles, but it's a pretty simple explanation. If he doesn't, it's not even close because the Eagles are that good of a team. It's just that simple. Yes, I don't want to say I'm necessarily worried because I'm never worried about a division opponent, no matter how good they are. I'm not lying. There's no way I'm lying. And when you have a division opponent like Philly, and they've gotten better at every single position that they lost in the offseason, but their offense is not necessarily at the same level as well as their defense as it was last season. So it's a big question mark to me going into this game, and I want to see who the best team in the NFC is.
Yeah.
I know that Dallas has 2 losses. I understand that Philly has 1 loss, but the 49ers right now, you cannot say is the best team in the NFC. I know by playoff time they're going to be completely healthy, and it's going to be really scary because Chase Young is going to be really, it's going to be going. But right now, they're not the best team in the NFC. And after last week, it's Philadelphia at top, Dallas right there, and the 49ers probably sitting there tied with Dallas or at number 3, depending on who you're talking to around the NFL and if they watch the 49ers. So
if you watch the Detroit Lions, I don't know, they may be chirping for that number 3 spot.
Oh, I forgot about Detroit. Yeah, I completely just misplaced Detroit there. I actually have to put Detroit. They have to be above Dallas right now because they're a 1-loss team, right? I don't think they've lost 2 games.
I think they've lost 2 games.
No, they have.
To the Ravens. Yeah, they got destroyed.
Yeah, no, Dallas for sure. Since they're the same losses, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'll take Dallas. Any team that has the same losses as Dallas, of course, I'm going to root for the home team. But we'll see what happens. It's a huge game, and it is the biggest game of both of the seasons so far, and it is quite literally for the division.
Yeah,
and it is a whole different game, a whole different division battle. If Philadelphia now has a 2-game lead, if Philadelphia wins, Philadelphia would not only be overall 2 games better than Dallas, ahead of them, they would have a better division record and a better head-to-head record. Now, they do play at the end of the season, so it could be 1-1, but that's not something you want to do because then that creates a must-win for the end of the season. You have no idea how your roster is going to look at the end of the season.
I think it's also important to say that I'm pretty sure Dallas goes to Philly, so they're going to play at their stadium at Lincoln Financial. So obviously, if you're a Cowboys fan, Dak Prescott plays a lot better when he's at home. So if you are the Cowboys, if you are Dak Prescott, if you want to ensure yourself a better end to the season, I think going out there and winning this game is just what you got to do because you're going to play better at home. It's at the end of the season. Hopefully, maybe the division's on the line. You never know. But you want to be at home in that situation, and you want to have, maybe even a one-game lead on them, right? Or a division record lead on them or something like that. Like you said, it's a really, really important. But if you split the series, you really don't want to split one of them at home. You know what I mean? You really don't want – obviously, it might not matter, but taking an 0-1 right here would suck if you're Dallas because I just don't know. But – I just want to end it off too with just praising them the last week over the win versus the Rams because the Rams are a really good team too, and a lot of people are kind of pooping on them a little bit right now, which I think is kind of a little bit undeserved. I think they're a good team. They got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. We've seen what they've done all season. They're just hitting a little rough spot right now. And Brandon Aubrey, can we just talk about this man? Never heard of him before the season, but he's money. He's absolutely money. I don't know where Dallas finds these guys, but money. My goodness.
They found one in the Canadian Football League with Turpin. So
that's true.
I mean, they found another one so far until he starts missing, and Cowboys Nation gets very angry. So just hey, keep making kicks, no big deal, right? It's all you gotta do. But he's been lights out, completely lights out this whole season. Last point we'll make before we get to the matchup preview and picks: Raiders fired their general manager and head coach and also benched Jimmy Garoppolo. Anything surprising here, or more of a "I told you so" RDH Sports moment?
No, I just
We called that.
Jimmy G sucks, man. No offense, Jimmy. I just
Like we said at the beginning of the podcast, you're giving up Derek Carr for Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, yeah, no disrespect to Jimmy Garoppolo or anything, but personally, I'd take Derek Carr.
yeah. I mean, look what he's doing in New Orleans right now. He's had pretty good games. I mean, he's putting over 300 passing yards. He's looking good. He's had some suspect throws, but he's doing better than Jimmy has. Like Jimmy looked real bad last night, or I guess 2 nights ago. It's it's not looking good. And if you're the Raiders, I mean, I'm kind of amazed that they didn't trade Devontae Adams. I mean, again, you could have gotten an absolute haul for that man right there, and that's the only like good player on that offense besides like Josh Jacobs, you know. So like, why not go into rebuild? You just fired your head coach and your GM. It looks like that's the direction they're headed in, especially since they just benched the quarterback they signed in the offseason, I think for like a 2-year deal too. So that's a
2-3.
little that's worrisome if you're the owner, if you're the Raiders, if you're a Raiders fan. I'm not sure where that team's going to head, because the defense is pretty okay. They've looked good.
They got Max Crosby. They're all right.
Yeah, it's looked good, but in pieces. That's the thing, though. I think I saw a stat that said like they haven't put up like over 20 points a game, in a game like this season, and that's pretty bad in the NFL, especially since like defenses have gotten even better too. So look out for that. But the Raiders not trending in a good direction. I don't know if I see Jimmy G start another game in his career unless it's like an injured, you know, as a backup going in for an injured starter.
Jimmy Garoppolo, has not played very well for the Raiders. He's a great game manager. I've always said it about him. I don't have anything against him.
But like, is he though?
I think he is. I think when he played for the Patriots, he was really good.
I think,
He was a really good game manager, but that also could have been the coaching.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's hard. It's hard to say because he was a very good quarterback before he got traded the first time,
I was, yeah.
literally, and then he got traded, and it went all the way
Well,
downhill.
I'll say like on the Niners, I think he was pretty. I would say he was good. I don't say he was pretty good. I don't think he was bad. I think he was good as a
Decent.
starter. But I didn't think he was otherworldly, and it's just kind of gone downhill from there. I think on the Niners, he was absolutely a game manager. I mean, that team was stacked, and they were in a Super Bowl. Like, how can you not play well in a, if you're getting to a Super Bowl? But at this point in his career, I don't think I would even call him a game manager. I think he would just be backup status for me at this point.
Oh no! I'm saying his play style that's how he is as a
Oh,
game manager. I'm
well,
saying
yeah,
you're not going to get much from the guy. He's just going to manage the game from you, and
yeah.
that's I hate to say it. You don't have an excuse with Devontae Adams. I'm
You
sorry, you
don't.
don't.
He was wide
You
open
don't
many
have an
times.
excuse when there's Devontae Adams, and you look at all the 1,000-yard seasons he's put up, all the numbers he's put up, everything he's leading in. You can't. There's no excuse there. And when you bring over a guy and you have both of the college duo back together with Derek Carr and Devontae Adams at Fresno State, and you bring him back at the same NFL team, and then you trade Derek Carr, and then you just sit there and leave Devontae Adams, it's a joke. I'm sorry. I know we have some Raiders listeners, but right now it's a joke, and that's why they fired the general manager, and that's why they fired the head coach. So what you hope the players rally around the new interim coach, and you hope that the backups start to get some good reps because this season's probably pretty close to being over if you don't scrap together 2 wins in a row extremely quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I don't think it was last season. I think a couple seasons ago they did a very similar thing where they had like that interim head coach, and he did pretty well, but I remember he didn't end up getting the job. I don't remember what his name was, but um, I you got to go out there and get, I think, a GM who's kind of aggressive if you're that owner, because this team needs a lot
Have
of
to.
work and this team needs a lot of picks. So I think if I'm them, I get an aggressive GM and I just start, flipping house. Like, it's just get them out of here. Sorry, Jimmy. Sorry, Devontae. It's not working. You've got a lot of really good pieces, but you don't really have a lot in terms of like a quarterback. So you could go get a quarterback, but it's going to cost you a lot of money and you're going to have to wait till the offseason anyways. So I don't know. I think it's a great move by the Raiders to get rid of their coach and GM. That was probably the best thing they've done all season.
Literally the best thing they've done all season. But jump into week 9 NFL matchup preview and picks. Tanner, go ahead and update the listeners from our previous results from last week. It was a better week, we'll say.
I think we just kind of flip flop. I think we have like a really good week, and then we have like a really bad week, and then we have a really good week, and this week was a really good week. We both went 4-1. So overall, I am 24-17, and Chad is 25-16. So we're still racing. We're still neck and neck, but it's gonna keep getting interesting with these games, and we've got a Germany game in here. That's kind of cool. We'll get to that in a minute, though.
6:30 a.m. Pacific time. Can't wait for that one. And it's the Bills and it's the Dolphins. So I'm going to be up.
It's the
I'm up
Chiefs and
for
the
every
Dolphins. Chiefs and the Dolphins.
or Chiefs and Dolphins. Sorry, Chiefs and Dolphins. I'm getting it mixed up with the later games. We're going to just get right into it. Thursday night, we got the Steelers and the Titans. Yeah, you know what I mean? Big A on that one. Just toss a coin. You know what I mean? I picked up Will Levis in fantasy because Kirk Cousins, his Achilles got torn in half. So I'm going to go with the mayonnaise eating Tennessee Titans over the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think it's going to happen, but personally, I'm just riding Will Levis this week, and I got to have a positive outlook on the fact that he is quite literally in my starting lineup. No disrespect, but a rookie quarterback in your starting lineup, unless you're CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, and even then, the numbers aren't consistent. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a rough one.
Yeah,
It's going to be a rough one for the rest of the season.
I really think, and this is just coming from years of just watching the NFL, I think Pittsburgh is going to put their dominance on this boy. They always like to do it against unknowing quarterbacks, you could say. That Mike Tomlin's very, very good at making a quarterback uncomfortable. He's been in the same division with Lamar Jackson for a long time, and they've played pretty well against him. So and Joe Burrow, by the way, they played pretty well against them too. But give me the Steelers. I think the defense is going to dominate. TJ Watt's going to get up in there. Derrick Henry's not going to have a fun day. Will Levis is not going to have a fun day. I think it's going to be close, but I think the Steelers are going to take it.
We'll see what happens on that one. Then we got this Sunday early morning game. That's going to be the morning game this week. Dolphins and Chiefs, like you said, in Germany.
That's wild.
That's going to be a heck of a game because the Dolphins are really looking to take it to the Chiefs right now, especially in Germany. The Chiefs need a win right now. They don't need one. They really don't, but still they do need one because you never see the Chiefs lose back to back. I have to go Chiefs. In this one, but I do think with these two explosive offenses, this is a game you don't want to miss.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to get up, trust me. But I will get up. I will do my best. As long as I get there for the second half, I'll be chilling. But give me the Chiefs. I think it's hard to say that Mahomes is going to lose 2 in a row. I know we said that about a lot of teams, and it kind of just happens. But it's Mahomes, man. I don't care where it is on this earth. It's Mahomes. I think he's gonna play at least better than he did last week because it's pretty hard to get worse. So give me the Chiefs. I think the Dolphins, they're a good team, but the Chiefs defense is sneaky good. Tua is playing at an elite level, obviously. Tyreek Hill, it's going to be hard, super hard to take him out of the game. I don't think they're going to, but I just think the Chiefs are going to outscore the Miami Dolphins. I just think that Chiefs defense is going to get to Tua. I think they're going to stop the run a little bit, and I think they're going to force Tua into some rough situations. He's going to throw some turnovers, and the Chiefs defense is going to win it for them, to some degree. Obviously, I think he's going to have a good day, but I think the defense is going to be the story of that game. So give me the Chiefs.
Chiefs. Right there with you. Sunday afternoon, Cowboys Eagles. We already hit this one pretty much, but gonna take the Cowboys. Got to, if you're watching on YouTube, look at the shirt. You know who I'm taking. Tanner's got the Texas shirt on right now for the Rangers. So assuming he's gonna go Cowboys as well. But I mean, the reason I'm going, like I said, Dak's played extremely well, and Cowboys typically win. The early games in the season, and you never know what's gonna happen. You never know what's gonna happen at the end of it. So, who do you got in that one?
I think it's pretty obvious. Give me them boys. I think the key to Dallas's success, you saw it a little bit this past week. I think Dak needs to get mobile on the ground. I think he needs to go for some rush yards. I think he needs to get out of the pocket, scramble a little bit, not make plays happen, but just extend plays with his legs. Get some first downs with his legs. You saw it against the Rams, and honestly, They picked up a couple first downs doing that. They got themselves into great positions doing that. Dak did that earlier in his career, and they looked great when he does do that. So give me the Cowboys, and I hope Dak runs for some rush yards this game.
We'll see what happens. We've got the Sunday night game, the Bills versus the Bengals. Make this one short, make this one sweet. I'm going to go Bengals because they look really good. And then we got the Monday night game, Chargers versus the Jets. We're running this quick because the Rangers are starting as we speak. We got the Chargers and the Jets. I got Chargers. Who do you got? Let's end this thing and go watch this game.
I got the Bengals too, actually. I think they're pretty hot, and they got the Bills number a lot of the times. You saw in the playoffs, the Bengals just like to kick the butt out of them. Let me say that, and in the regular season too. But I think the last time they played, DeMar Hamlin happened. So rest up to him. Hopefully that will not happen again. And then what was the Monday night game? Oh, Chargers and Jets. Give me the Chargers. That one's easy. Jets have a good defense, though. I think it's going to be a slugfest, and it's probably not going to be pretty fantasy-wise. But that's all I got.
There we go. Let's send this one and wait till next week to talk more football. We'll catch you folks next week. Thanks for the listen.
Yeah, hopefully next week we will crown the Rangers champions, but we'll see tonight. Hopefully they can take them out in 5. That'd be really, really nice. But later, folks.
See ya.